Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Pure Picks. Joined here by my man Top G. How you doing today, Gerard?
Doing good. Doing pretty good. Um, this could have really been a green week, but I think we got a little bit too greedy on this card.
Yeah. Maybe not greedy enough in some cases, but yeah, maybe a little too greedy in some cases. That's what was our downfall. Let's talk about the event that just transpired, UFC 299. A lot of potential for us, but we ended up 1.23 units down on the night. So obviously, not a good showing. That's not what we want here at Pure Picks. Going over some of these plays, I mean, I think that overall we had some good plays, but there's just some unit sizing issues, I think, and also just riding some guys that probably weren't that great as far as plays. First one I want to talk about is Jailton Almeida. We put 3.3 units on him. I think that first round was going really well. I thought that was an automatic dub the way it looked like, but it just showed that there are still some levels to the top contenders. Jail Time literally just had one plan, and it was just to wrestle and shoot for takedowns, and ultimately he paid the price for shooting and committing to a takedown when it wasn't there. So hats off to all the Curtis Blades people. But I think that was a just very close fight, and I think that next time, we'll have to take into account whether a person like that's going to deserve a 3.3 unit bet on us. We did get a Michelle Pereira right. I was Alex's pretty good call right there. I was also on Michelle, but I was not as confident as Alex. But he put that in there, and that played out to be true. I think that was a first round just domination. I don't think Michelle Olajaychik did anything in that fight. The next parlay that he hit Almabayev to win, pretty good decision there. Over 2.5 on Caitlin, and also over 2.5 on Gamrot. I agreed with all those plays. I think those are some great. That was a great parlay. I wish we just laid more units on those kind of plays, but and I think that's something that we'll take into account for next time. I think that if I'm on the same side as one of the other peer pickers here, why not just lay more units on it? Because I was trying to find different angles, but I think the solid plays were kind of all right there in front of us. So next time, I think those were more solid plays to even lay more juice on. I do want to talk about BSD. I think we were all pretty high on him actually, and yeah, just in hindsight, it just seemed like that was not the play, right? I think that the first bad sign that we had throughout the week was that staph infection that we saw on his photo. I think that probably should have been a cash out button if we had it. I think we probably should just hedge out our parlay that we had on him. But overall, I mean, not to make any excuses, I think DP was the play overall, regardless of the staph infection. I think that DP just showed him levels to not only game plan, IQ, but just overall striking as well. And Saint Denis did really good round one, but round two looked extremely gassed and could be because of the staph infection. But overall, I think that that's the type of fight that DP just wins, a dog fight. And I wish that we just went with DP as the dog because you don't get those opportunities often as a dog in that case. So yeah, I think that was the wrong move by us. We did get the Spain right. I wish we laid more juice on that guy. That was a pretty easy win in my opinion. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to potentially ride him again. Sean O'Malley goes the distance. I thought that was a pretty solid bet, and it cashed. And we just saw the legendary chin of Cheeto Vera right there. So hats off to him for surviving the 5 rounds with Sean O'Malley, because many people would have faltered in that fight against Sean O'Malley. So hats off to Cheeto Vera. And yeah, Gerard, did you want to talk about any other plays that we had on there?
Yeah, we had a parlay that I put in JDM and Song Yadong, which didn't hit. Uh, It was kind of iffy on the JDM fight too, because that one it looked like Burns was gonna go run away with a decision victory, but we picked the guy that was more dangerous in this one, and there was always a chance that JDM could find a way to get him out of there, and luckily he was able to get that game winner at the end of that third round right there. So that was good. I think JDM's going to be elite. I mean, he knows what he can turn it on at any point. So we saw that night. Song Yadong and Piotr Yan. This one was a close fight. I think I just thought that Song would be able to do more in the grappling and the wrestling, which we weren't able to see that in that third round. He was taken down and wasn't able to be dominant in that part of the game, and Piotr was able to get that decision win right there. Um, we had Marlon Vera uh, by a points handicap plus 5.5 points. We thought he would be able to win more rounds in this fight, but yeah, O'Malley was just able to get Vera biting on a lot of things early, and Cheeto wasn't able to get going in that fight, and it was just a mostly complete shutout on O'Malley's part. And now we see that he can go 5 rounds and be pretty effective for all 5 rounds. So that was one loss right there, and we went over. Oh yeah, the Phillips one, that was a big win for Phillips. A lot of people thought that Munoz was going to be make this a closer fight, but Phillips is getting better. He's starting to be a pretty good contender, and he's really showing some things there. Now, the one pick that I was happy about was Michael Page by decision. We got that at plus 215. I think, yeah, I just had Michael Page winning that. He was the his timing is just so good. He's just like a precision sniper in there. He showed that Kevin Holland wasn't on the same level as him in terms of striking, and we might see some more exciting fights from Page. And then our last fight here, Moros and Saint Denis. I think this was just a parlay of people who might be retiring from both of these fighters in Dustin Poirier and Joanne Wood. So yeah, some fighters that were could be retiring after this fight, but they ended up winning. So yeah. One thing that I did wish that we did was we should have added the Matus Gamrot by decision instead of going heavy units on Curtis Blades. So yeah, some missed opportunities there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that um I think you meant Gelton, but yeah, I wish that we did not we didn't put that
Yeah, yeah,
many
yeah.
gel time. Going back to the Morose before we start off the new card. I mean, man, I thought she was winning all the way up until that spinning back fist. I don't know what happened there, man. Like, yeah, I mean, definitely should not have laid the juice on her. Obviously, even though it was a retirement fight, I knew that she was a striker with negative striking differential, and turns out that that was true because she took a spinning back fist to the face, lost that round, then lost a split decision. So I had her 29-28 up until that point, and then that happened. But I think that the value was obviously with Wood because she was the better striker in that matchup overall. Moved on to the next card, because we always want to move on. Had a couple of weeks where we're down units, but overall, we're still up 17% on the year, 20% on parlays. So I think that we need to get back on track, and looking forward to this week being the one that's going to get us back on track here. So let's go with the first fight on the prelims here for UFC Fight Night, Tuivasa versus Tybura. This is going to be a fight night in the Apex at Vegas, so pretty exciting kind of matchup throughout the cards, and hopefully there's going to be some opportunities to cash. Looking at the first fight, it's going to be Chad Anheliger versus Charalampos. Grigoriou. Hopefully, I said that name right. Chad, 12-7. He is 3-2 in his last five. He's actually coming off two straight losses. The first loss that he had was to Alateng Haley via decision, and then second loss on this streak is to Jose Johnson via rear naked choke sub. Facing off against Charalampos Grigoriou, 8-3, 4-1. He is coming off the Dana White Contender Series KO win. Looking at the odds for this fight right now, we have Chad, or actually Grigoriou, at minus 162, open up at a minus 220. Gerard, I'll let you kick off the breakdown for this fight card. What do you think about this fight between Chad here and Grigoriou?
So this fight, Chad Anheliger, the veteran in this fight, he's pretty quick for his age. He fights very loose, a lot of in and out style and some good footwork. He does have like these big counter right hands that he throws, which can catch people slipping. He does have a grappling weakness, but he's not too bad in the grappling, but his only times he's ever been finished is from submission. So that's one area that he struggled in. Um, he is experienced, and I see that he does compete for every round. So he doesn't usually slow down. He usually tries to pick it up, the intensity as the fight goes on. Um, Charalampos, he's powerful and dangerous early. I've seen that he does look good on top control when he's able to get the fighter on the ground, and he does have some strong leg kicks. But I look at his record and I kind of question how quality were those opponents he's been facing. So up against a vet here in Chad and Helliger. For me, I'm at a low confidence. I'm going with the vet and Helliger here against pretty much debut fighter of Charalampos. I'm just not so sure how great his opponents have been. So I'm at low confidence and Helliger here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the classic UFC vet versus a debuting Dana White Contender Series fighter. Usually, the Dana White Contender Series fighters have been not cashing at a good rate. We did see Hader Emil win, facing off against Fernie. That was the most recent one that remember that actually the debut person won. Getting back to this fight, I mean, yeah, Chad, power striker. I think he just relies on his hands. He's mainly a guy who really likes to hit hard and pushes out a decent pace for a power striker. He has okay takedown defense, but relies more so on just getting back up or reversing positions on the ground. He has a 47% takedown defense, and he can't get taken down. We saw that in his last fight. I mean, he has five sub losses all in the last 8 and 10 years ago, but he was subbed versus Jose Johnson his last loss. So I think that you know Grigoriou. I mean, he's a prospect, right? I think good mix of striking and grappling. Likes to strike with power as well. Has good combos. He does have good leg kick. I think that weapon will probably be really important for this fight. He also mixes in his takedowns and just grinds on opponents for the win. So he does have that game plan within him. He was originally slated to face Kazama, and I think that was going to be an easy setup win for him because I just don't think that Kazama is a UFC level fighter. Kazama pulled out, and now Chad is stepping up on short notice. I will side with Grigoriou pulling out a decision win. I just believe he is well rounded, more well rounded than Chad. Chad will be looking to get a win given his recent losing streak, and I think that will just lead him to making mistakes that Grigoriou can capitalize on. So, pick for me here is going to be Grigoriou for decision, but I think I'm passing on this fight and just waiting for another opportunity for in the future to potentially see how he does. I mean, I think that Chad is pretty game, solid dog, but pick here is going to be the favorite for me. Moving on to the next fight that we have on the prelims, we have a women's MMA fight. It's going to be Cory McKenna versus Jaqueline Amorim. Cory McKenna, 8-2. She is 4-1 her last five. She's actually coming off a decision victory about a year ago, facing off against Jaqueline Amorim, 7-1. She is 4-1 her last five. She's coming off a ground pound KO victory about 6 months ago. We're looking at the odds for this fight right now. We see that Cory McKenna is a minus 125 favorite. She actually opened up at plus 120 dogs, so it's been a little bit of a flipping line right there. Yeah, I mean, for this fight, I do think that Cory's pretty well rounded. She can wrestle and strike. She fights out of Team Alpha Male, so she has that kind of fighting style, well rounded, but does have a wrestling advantage when she needs it. I think that the negatives on her is that she has a 58.5-inch reach. That's pretty. That's not good. That's pretty short. It might be the shortest on the roster, if I'm not mistaken, and she's pretty undersized too. I think her defense is also lacking at times. She does pump out decent volume. She does have a negative striking differential though, and I think that that could play out in this fight potentially. I do think that she has a kind of a good grappling game. She has 2.04 takedowns landed every fight, 56% takedown accuracy, and 71% takedown defense. So I think she's pretty solid in grappling. I just think that Jaqueline's going to be the more dangerous fighter here. I think that she is more dangerous on the feet and on the ground. She commits to the forward pressure. I think she has good power in her stand up, although I think that Jaqueline can be a bit wild at times. She is a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, has 5 sub wins all in the first round. I also think that she has decent grappling to go with her Jiu Jitsu skills. Now, the only negative on Jaqueline is that she was shown levels to UFC cardio versus Sam Hughes, and that was a very eye-opening fight. I was actually on the Sam Hughes side after round one because I was like, we need to see her cardio because she's had a lot of first round finishes, and turned out that was true. Sam Hughes was absolutely dogging her from round two on. She did show much better cardio in her last fight though, in her last win versus Ruiz. So I think that I don't know if she has the best cardio, but it was obviously a little better in the last fight. I do think that Jaqueline will have the higher finishing equity here, so I think that she is more dangerous. The cardio will be concerned, but I'm gonna say Jaqueline via sub. I'm staying away from this. I'm not even playing the over 2.5 here because anything could happen in this fight. I think. Gerard, what do you think about this fight between McKenna and Amorim?
Yeah, when I look at this fight, I think this could end up being a close fight, and I'm probably going to stay away as well. But Cory McKenna, she's got good pace and she's pretty gritty. Uh, yeah, like you said, she has short arms, but I think she looks pretty durable. I'm not sure if she'll be the one that gets finished. I'm not even sure if she's been finished before, actually. Um,
I
yeah,
don't
I
think
think
she has.
she's only lost by split decision.
Yep.
So she's pretty durable and good in terms of if it goes to grappling, and she hasn't been knocked out. Um, I like that when she gets gritty and aggressive, she finds ways to get inside to strike and have some takedowns. I actually think she's the better grappler in this matchup, and Jacqueline's probably the better submission, has a better submission game. Um, and Corey has the cardio to compete for all 3 rounds. That's something that we're not entirely sure of with Jacqueline, like we saw in the Sam Hughes fight. She wasn't all there for every round. Uh, Jacqueline, she does have skills in striking and that submission game. She's going to be the longer fighter here, and she could look better in the stand up early in this fight. Yeah, like again, my only concern for Jacqueline is the cardio issue if McKenna picks up the pace. and grapples harder and gets inside faster. So this fight, I'm gonna lean Cory McKenna because I think she just has a more of a fight in her. But like you said, most likely I'm staying away from this fight because this could be close, even a split decision, in my opinion.
See what those odds are for split decision. See if they drop that for right now. Could be a nice little moonshot play right there. See. I don't think they have it right now, so we'll check back in later for that.
Mhm.
Moving on to the next fight that we have on the prelims, we have Josh Culibao versus Danny Silva. Josh Culibao, 11-2-1. He's coming off that loss against Leron Murphy, and where he actually got 1080 in a round or so. I think he got like 30-26 on a few judges scorecard. Facing off against Danny Silva, 8-1, 4-1 in his last five. He's coming off that Dana White Contender Series victory over Angel Pacheco via decision. Moving on to the odds for this fight right now, we have Josh Culibao minus 160 favorite, opened up at a minus 240. Gerard, I'll let you start off this breakdown with your Filipino brother. What do you think about this fight between Josh and Danny Silva here?
So Josh Kuya Kulibao, he's he's best when he's fighting in space from distance. He likes to pick his shots. He's defensively disciplined and he doesn't tend to rush things. Um, I think he'll be the more accurate striker in this fight. And I noticed that he likes to take advantage of his opponent's mistakes and finds opportunities to blitz and find those big shots or submission opportunities. He does struggle with taller, longer fighters and guys who can really grapple. Um, as for Danny Silva, this guy, he's ready to make it a dogfight. He has the cardio and his volume is really good. He's dangerous, but he gets wild and sloppy from what I've seen from tape, and he eats shots whenever he's brawling, and that might not be a good recipe here. Um, Silva, he shows up with a lot of offense, but his chin tends to be up and open. So Josh Culibao could find a way to snipe that whenever he's getting overly aggressive and sloppy. Me personally, in this fight, how I see this going, I have Josh Culibao by decision, but I can possibly see a finish here as well. But Danny Silva looks like a very tough guy. So yeah, those are my thoughts here.
Yeah, I mean, I have similar thoughts to you. I think that Josh is a tough striker. He also likes to use leg kicks to set up the power shots. Good boxer, pretty clean hands. He's really a tough out as well, really hard to finish. I think that the only time he's been finished, at least in the UFC, was when he fought Jalen Turner, and I think that that fight was a weight class above. So I think he came in maybe on short notice or something, and now he's at 145 back there. I do think that his grappling's okay. He's coming off getting dominated by Leron Murphy pretty much everywhere, but especially in the
Mhm.
grappling. I don't know if he's gonna have to
Yeah,
really worry about that in this fight, though. Do you have any? You have
yeah, I
any?
don't think so either.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I think he's decent in his takedown defense.
yep.
Murphy is just really good
He's
in the
good.
grappling.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
guy's
he's really
pretty
good.
good. Yeah, I mean he has 72% takedown defense. I just don't think that'll be an issue here. I mean, Silva is a very active striker, right? Uses movement and volume to just wear down his opponents. His Dana White Contender Series fight does a lot of strikes on both sides going. So I think there's a lot of volume in that matchup. I think that's how he likes to fight. He likes to just move forward, pressure, strikes with high volume, pushes the pace. He has good head movement as well. I think to evade some shots, he does target the body. He worked in a couple of takedowns in his win, but I think his plan A is to strike. Decent takedown defense, but I don't think Josh is going to be able to. Well, maybe not be able to, but I don't think the takedowns will matter much in this fight. I do think that Josh will be the better fighter in this matchup. He should have the power advantage, and he's just not going to have to deal with that grappling disadvantage in a matchup like he did with Leon Murphy. I think this could be a close decision fight just based on, Josh potentially landing the more impactful shots and Silva landing with higher volume. I do like the over 2.5 here. I think Josh will win by decision, but I think Danny will be tough enough to not get finished by Josh and vice versa. I think Josh is a pretty tough out as well. So I like the over 2.5 as a solid little piece for a parlay. But aside from that, I wouldn't mind playing Josh at minus 160 as a money line play, even. I would be happy to lay some juice on Josh because I could see him win decision, or if he catches Danny Silva right, I could see him finishing him as well. So those would be some things that I'll be look for over 2.5, maybe even the Josh straight money line right there. So we'll see what happens. Moving on to the next fight, we have Thiago Moises versus Mitch Ramirez. This will be Mitch's UFC debut, technically. Moises 17-7. He is 2-3 in his last five. He's coming off of that BSD loss via KO about 6 months ago, facing off against Mitch Ramirez rather. 8-1, 4-1 his last five. He's coming off of a KO win at the LFA, but before that, he was actually KO'd by Carlos Prates, who got a win, I believe, over Trevin Giles. So this guy, he got KO'd by a UFC level fighter here. Let's move on to the odds for the fight. We have Thiago Moises at minus 360, open up at a minus 335. Yeah, I think that this one is going to be one of my locks on the card here. Um, you know, Moises, I think he's a good UFC level grappler, prefers to use the jiu-jitsu skills to control the fight. Really good level jiu-jitsu skills, has a large set of tools on the ground, active in scrambles on the back. He can also reverse position if taken down. I think his striking is okay. Decent kicks, can work in the combos with the kicks. He does have volume, but it's inconsistent at times depending on the opponent. Mitch is just that wrestler that likes to grind on opponents for a tough win. I think he's a good wrestler. He does have top control and will stay there to secure the dub. I think that his striking is also below average though. His leg kick is okay, but he really struggles with range and distance management. He can get hit on the way in. I think that Moises should be able to use his higher level grappling here to secure the win. Because I think that if Mitch his first plan is gonna be to grapple with Moises, I don't think that's gonna work here. I think that Moises is a proven UFC level fighter. He's already lost to ranked level fighters, in my opinion, at lightweight. I think Mitch is gonna try to implement a similar game plan that BSD did, but I know that BSD's stock is a little low right now, but I don't think that Mitch is the same level as BSD in terms of the physicality, the technique, and all of that. So give me Moises via sub. I think that he's just going to catch Mitch Ramirez with some kind of sub as he's getting taken down, or he's going to reverse position then sub him. So yeah, give me Moises as a parlay piece here. Yeah, I think he's a good lock for the card. And he's coming on a short notice, by the way. Mitch is coming on a short notice. Gerard, what do you think about this fight between Moises and Ramirez here?
Yeah, when I look at Mitch, he has some power, and I think he would want to strike in this fight, uh, knowing that Thiago Moises' chin has been checked as of late. But Mitch is kind of slow, and like you said, it kind of looks like below average striking. Uh, he has fought against one UFC fighter in Prates, but he got knocked out in that one. Um, Thiago Moises, I don't think he wants to stand and strike too long. I don't think he wants to test his chin again uh, up against Mitch here. And in this fight, Moises is his grappling and submission is he might put on a grappling and submission masterclass in this one. And I'm kind of thinking the same things as you. And I'm thinking Moises by sub in this fight. And like you said, maybe potential lock, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and those props haven't dropped yet, so I'm gonna be looking at that Moises by sub when it does drop. Right now, the over under, by the way, is 2.5. The under 2.5 is -210. So people think this fight's gonna not go the distance. Most likely, that opened up at -150. Now it's -210. So people have already kind of slammed that. I'm kind of thinking the same way. I think Moises by sub is probably the play there, but we'll see what happens when the props actually drop for that one. Moving on to the next fight on the prelims, we have Ode Osbourne versus Jafel Filho. Ode Osbourne, 12-6. He is 3-2 in his last five. He's coming off of that submission loss against Azu Alambayev, who just actually fought UFC 299. Facing off against Jafel Filho, 15-3, 4-1 in his last five. He's coming off a submission victory over Daniel Perez about 7 months ago. Let's look at the odds for this fight right now. We have Jafel -178, opened up at a -155. Gerard, I'll let you kick off this breakdown for this fight. What do you think about this flyweight matchup here?
So in this fight, Ode Osbourne, he's gonna have the length and striking advantage. He's a good athlete, good reflexes, but he does get tired. It seems as the rounds go on, and he makes some bad decisions at times, like some boneheaded mistakes. He t- he would try some like high risk strikes. He would slip, even get grappled. And I remember watching that Tyson Nam fight. He he
Oh yeah,
throws a flying knee and he gets caught in midair and gets knocked out. That was
I was on
like
him. I paid that juice for
you
to get KO'd like that.
you
So
made it.
I remember that. I paid the price.
Yeah. Yeah, Tyson Nam just caught him. He wasn't even near the knee at all. And yeah, that was just boneheaded mistake there. Now for Tafel, he's gonna have the superior grappling here. Superior grappling, possibly find a finish. His stand-up is okay. He moves pretty well, and he's not reckless in the striking. Um, this fight, I'm leaning uh Rafael Filho, uh possibly by sub, but I'm not sure right now exactly because I don't know if Osborne might try to stay away from that and might push it to a decision, but yeah, but I'm leaning Filio here. I'm not sure if it's by sub. What do you think?
I can see either way. I mean, I think that we might have differing views on Hafel, but I think we think of the same of Ode. I mean, I think that Ode is solid, but just very inconsistent. He does have all the all round skills that people look for. I mean, good striking, uses length with his straight shots, uses that length with straight shots. He has legit KO power with his strikes, works the combos with body kicks. I just think that the overall red flag on this guy is the inconsistency of fight IQ. That KO loss to Tyson Nam. After I saw that, I was like, I'm never putting anything on this guy ever again. That was just a big red flag for me. Just a straight vertical jumping knee and didn't even move anywhere. Tyson Nam just like literally timed him on the way down, just like knocked this guy out cold. He reminded me of like the Mario character jumping up and just like
Jumping up.
wait, and then just waiting for Tyson Nam was just waiting for that KO shot. So man, that was just yeah. After that, I was done with him. I think Hafel's a solid fighter. Good jujitsu skills to get the finish. Prefers to attack the subs though instead of favoring position, like we saw with the Mokaev fight. Good takedowns. I think he can work in takedowns from body locks and trips. So I think that Ode Osborne actually has a wrestling background, if I'm not mistaken. But I think that he's gonna have to defend the body locks and the trips more so than just like standard single double legs. Um, Hafel to me I think he actually likes to start fast and get into wild exchanges. I think he does have some power in his hands. The red flag to me though is that he does leave his chin open at times, and he has below average striking defense. And against a guy like Ode, that could be a cause for concern. I think this could be a volatile fight. Both guys throw power on the feet. To me, they look for the finish. I'm gonna lean towards Jafel being able to just work in his grappling to secure the sub, maybe even a potential ground pound KO finish. I do think that Ode, just given his skill set, could be a solid dog in this matchup, but I just can't trust him after that. So yeah, I'm staying away from this. Pick here is Hafel by inside the distance. I actually think that's not a bad play. See what it's minus 110 right now. So I mean, people think that Ode is probably going to get finished in this fight. I'm not too sure. I'm not too confident, but I'm probably staying away from this. But pick here is going to be Hafel inside the distance. Let's move on to the next fight that on the prelims right now. We have Josiane Nunes versus Chelsea Chandler. Nunes, Josie, 10-1, 5-0 in her last five. She's coming off of that decision victory over Zara Farin, facing off against Chelsea Chandler, 5-2, 4-1 in her last five. She's coming off of that decision loss to Norma Dumont, where she was a track star running away from a potential KO finish. So I mean that what a meme fight that was. Let's look at the odds right now. So we have Nunes minus 134 opened up at minus 150. There was a point where she was actually an underdog at plus 105, but that was instantly bet down to a minus 134. So that's where we're standing right now. Gerard, I'll let you kick it off this one too. What do you think about Nunes versus Chandler here?
So Josie Nunez, she's she's got good pressure, like really good pressure and volume. She has high pace and her toughness and pace is going to be a problem in this fight. She's kind of like a little tank with aggression and very gritty fighter. As for Chelsea Chandler, she's going to have that size advantage and it could play a factor here, but so far we haven't seen it affect Josie as of late. But Chelsea Handler is going to have like more of a wrestling style in this fight. Um, and to slow down Josie's pressure and volume, she's going to have to grapple Josie in this fight to slow down Nunes' pace and pressure. Um, Chelsea doesn't give me confidence with her defense or wrestling too much. I mean, I've seen her get taken down in her past fights and controlled, even though she's the bigger one fighter who should be bullying someone like Josie. And like she said, she was a track star in that Dumont fight. She was sprinting away. The only other time I've seen a fighter do that was CJ Vergara
Oh,
against Daniel Lacerda. He was
yep.
doing sprints throughout the whole octagon. So that's not a good sign to see someone doing that, especially on the judges. Um, this one, I'm probably gonna stay away from this fight just because we might see heavier wrestling intent from Chelsea Chandler, who is bigger in this one. But I am still leaning Nunes, but I'm probably gonna stay away personally.
Yeah. I could tell you guys a little bit about, Chelsea Chandler. I was actually not proud to admit this, but I was on her side against Norma Dumont. And like, having her out, and I got her at plus odds, I think. I think she was the underdog in that fight, but actually let me check if she actually was the underdog. It was a man if yeah, she was the underdog because I was about to say if I laid the juice on her, I don't know if I should even talk about her anymore. But yeah, I thought she had a good underdog chance, but obviously in that fight she showed me literally nothing other than she knows how to survive. Because Norma Dumont was just the much better fighter overall in that matchup. I think this fight we could see the same thing. I think Nunes is pretty solid overall, though. I mean, if you look at their height, right, it's 5'2", 5'8". Obviously, Nunes is 6 inches shorter, but she only has a 1 inch reach disadvantage, right? She has 67-inch reach, and Chandler has a 68-inch reach. So Nunes has those like kind of Volkanovski arms, right? She has a short height, but her wingspan, her reach is not proportionate to her height. So she does have some longer arms. I like the fact that Nunes was able to win versus Zara Farin. I mean, I don't think that Zara is a maybe not a great fighter now, but and Zara is probably a little over the hill. But Zara was also a big physical fighter. Zara was 5'8". I believe that she has like similar dimensions to Chelsea Chandler here. I just think that the concern that I would have is that Nunes was taken down 3 out of 10 times against Ramona Pascal, and I don't think Ramona Pascal is good at all. But she did hurt Pascal 2 times by knocking her down that fight. For now, I'm passing on this fight. I'm not playing this fight at all because I have no confidence in either Nunes or Chelsea Chandler. I was actually on Nunes in that Zara Farin fight, and I remember she was a pretty good sized favorite, and she was in some parlays, and it was not worth the sweat. That was actually kind of a close fight. Now that I remember it, so I'm not confident in either lady here. I'm passing on this fight. Pick for me will be Nunes though, and I'll give her inside the distance. I think that she can probably knock out Chelsea Chandler at some point. But yeah, I'm passing on this fight overall. I don't think there's much value. Looking at the over 2.5 too, just to tell you guys, I mean, you don't really see this too often in women's MMA fights. Over 2.5 right now is -140, opened up at -115. So I feel like there's going to be some kind of finish here because usually when the odds are that close, there's like some kind of I don't even see any value in the over 2.5. So yeah, I'm probably staying away from this fight completely. Moving on to the next fight that we have on the prelims, we have Mike Davis versus Natan Levy. Mike Davis, 10-2, 4-1 his last five. He's coming off that decision win over Slava Claus about a year and a half ago. So it's been some time since he's fought. Facing off against Natan Levy, 8-1, 4-1 his last five. He's also coming off decision victory a year and 3 months ago. So both these guys are somewhat inactive. This is going to be their first fight in about, 12 to 18 months. Let's look at the odds for this fight right now. We have Levy and Davis. Davis -285. He opened up at a -300. And it seems like there's been really some dog action on Natan Levy. But right now, people are still hammering it back at Mike Davis. Natan Levy Mike Davis was actually a -235 at one point, but now he's kind of creeping back to where he opened up. Gerard, what are your thoughts here about Mike Davis versus Natan Levy?
So Mike Davis, he's he's got some good strikes. He's not wild with his striking. He's a very strong athlete, and he's a guy who wrestles with his size. He could be physically imposing in this fight. Um, he really knows how to use his size and mix in his wrestling with his striking here. And I'd really like what he does when he times his takedowns behind his strikes, his punches, and then he shoots. Um, as for Natan Levy, he's got really nice kicks and mixes of strikes. He's got good skills. He even has some submission wins. Um, Levy is poised on the stand up and he has decent grappling, but he does struggle a bit against really good wrestlers. And Mike Davis is going to have that threat in this fight. I think that's why the odds are so big right now on Davis' side. So this fight, the way I see this going, I'm gonna give Mike Davis the edge, but with Levy's skill set, I think he can make this a close fight. So I think maybe the odds should be a little closer, but I'm still giving Mike Davis the edge here.
Yeah, I share similar thoughts to you. I think that this is going to be the classic grappler versus grappler, wrestler versus wrestler kind of matchup. I do think that Mike Davis is going to be the rightful favorite here because we've seen Natan Levy just struggle against this kind of matchup before. I mean, he was taken down 7 times by Rafa Garcia, um, and that was his only loss in the UFC so far. Not only was he taken down 7 times, he's actually controlled for 5.5 minutes. So if a guy like Rafa Garcia, who's 5'7", 70-inch reach, less less physical, let's just say, than Mike Davis, I think that Mike Davis is probably going to come in with the same game plan that Rafa did and just beat this guy. I could see a potential inside the distance even for Mike Davis. I know that it might be a kind of a grappling affair. It might be a close decision, but I do think that Mike Davis is the rightful favorite just because of the sheer physicality. I also think that he's the maybe not the better striker, but I think he'll be the more dangerous striker in this matchup. And yeah, I think that the pick for me, just based on the odds, I tend to agree with you that is probably going to lean towards being a close fight. So the official pick for me is going to be Natan Levy by decision. I think that he is a potential dog, but I could easily see Mike Davis maybe ground pounding this guy or something. Because if Rafa Garcia took you down 7 times and controlled you for that long, I can just imagine what Mike Davis is going to do. But I do think the odds are pretty juicy on Natan Levy. So right now I'd say Natan Levy by decision, potential dog, but I'm on the fence right now. I'm not sure if that's something that I'll play by the end of the week. Both of these guys are also inactive, so who knows what they'll look like coming into this fight. We do know that Natan Levy is actually if I believe, the younger guy in this match. Oh, actually, he's the older guy, so they're both the same age. So I mean, who knows what could happen there? But yeah, official pick here is Natan Levy by decision, but right now I'm staying away from it. Let's move on to the main card here. We have GM3 Gerald Meerschaert versus Bryan Barberena. GM3 is 35-17. He's 2-3 in his last five. He's coming off that split decision loss to Andre Petroski, facing off against Bryan Barberena, 18-11, 2-3 in his last five, coming off that decision loss to Mahmoud. Looking at the odds for this fight, we have GM3 at minus 240, and he opened up at a minus 155. Yeah, for this main card, I like to start off. I mean, GM3 is a guy that is just mainly a grappler, very chinny as of late. I mean, I think we all remember the Hamza Chimaev knockout where he just looked like he was scared the whole time, and that fight ended really quick. But aside from that, he went on a pretty good run, right? He went 3-0 after that, then lost to Jocko, then was a really big dog against Bruno Silva and came out looking great in that matchup as well. And now he's coming off two other losses, one to Joe Pyfer and one to Andre Petroski. I think that this matchup for GM3, he usually struggles with more so people who have that power, right? He was even dropped against Petroski, and that's what made it a very close fight. I think that without that power, though, coming back at him and people who have a grappling deficiency like Barberena does, I think that this might be the fight to potentially ride a vet like GM3. It could be scary, it could be we have to trust on this guy's chin again, pretty much, if we're gonna ride him at these juice prices, because right now he's minus 240. But I think that GM3 via sub. I mean, Bryan Barberena, I don't think there's much to even talk about this guy anymore. I mean, he does the exact same thing in each fight. He just likes to brawl with you, pump out high volume. But that game plan just does not work if he is facing another person who has grappling potential, right? I mean, we saw his wins, Matt Brown, Robbie Lawler, those are guys who just want to stand and bang with you. And that's going to be a matchup that Barberena will excel in. But look at his last three losses. RDA, a guy who's a lightweight, took him down at 170 pounds and choked him out. Gunnar Nelson, that was a horrible mismatch. I don't even know why that fight got made. Mahmoud, all of a sudden, Mahmoud turned into a wrestler, even though, he's a well rounded fighter, but Mahmoud landed like 13 takedowns on him. So, and he knocked him down twice. So, I mean, I just don't have much confidence in Barberena. He's going to try to brawl and, kind of stand and bang with GM3. GM3 is going to be the vet. He's going to be able to take him down at some point. I think he's going to secure a submission win. So pick for me is GM3. I think he's a potential parlay piece, but I would actually look at his GM3 via sub as a potential play. I think it's plus 125 right now. Open up at plus 140. So that's my pick here. Gerard, what do you think about GM3 versus Bam Bam here?
Yeah, so Bam Bam, he has that cardio and that intensity throughout his all his fights. Um, but I think at this stage of his career, he's not the most super dangerous guy that Meerschaert tends to have difficulty with. Um, and Barberena, he competes throughout, but again, like you said, he struggles against guys who really grapple and are submission specialists. And Gerald Meerschaert, he has that submission threat advantage. Um, for the most part, I think Meerschaert has a responsible stand up. He doesn't force things too much, and he only has trouble against like dangerous, explosive strikers. And I don't think Barberena is that guy right now. Um, so yeah, I do have kind of the same thoughts. Uh, I do see Meerschaert by sub. I'm probably not as confident as you though, because I could see how both of these fighters are very capable of giving away the win, in my opinion. So yeah, but I still got Meerschaert by sub, just not as confident as you.
Yeah, no, understandable for sure. Let's move on to the next fight that we have on the main card. We have a women's MMA matchup at 135 pounds. We have Pannie Kianzad versus Macy Chazon 2. They actually fought, I think, on the Ultimate Fighter the first time. I think Macy got a sub win in that fight. Um, Panay, I mean, set 16-7, 3-2 in her last five. She's coming off of that decision loss to Ketlin Vieira. Macy Chazon 8-3. She is 3-2 in her last five. Coming off of a liver kick KO against Irene Aldana. I remember that well because I was actually on the Macy Chazon side on that fight, and I thought she was gonna win that victory, and then all of a sudden she got liver kicked. So not a great moment right there. Let's move on to the odds. We have Chazon at minus 202, opened up at minus 180. Gerard, what do you think about Macy versus Panay here?
Panay, she has decent striking and grappling skills overall, but she does tend to struggle when she's on her back. In these fights, we see like a lot of fighters being able to control her, at least the higher level ones. And Macy Chasson is one of those higher level girls. I think Panay is good, but I just think Macy is just at least slightly better than her everywhere, in my opinion. I think she's just a better fighter. She has good kickboxing from distance. She uses that length well, and she knows how to use that length and mix in the wrestling as well. And from what I've seen, Macy has good control when she's on the ground, and I see Macy probably getting another win here. I think she's just the better fighter, and she's fought the better competition and has looked better against better competition. So I have Macy in this one.
Yeah, the only red flag that I have for this matchup is I don't know why the odds are kind of this close. It gives me as a cause for concern because I mean I see the same thing that you see. I think that Macy is just better than Panay all around. I mean, I'm actually kind of a fan of Macy, believe it or not. I mean, I was very confident in her. I was actually that confident in her against, Irene Aldana. But yeah, I mean, that liver kick KO, that was something that'll be etched in my mind forever. I just don't think this is going to be the same matchup, though. Irene Aldana obviously is just active, right? Active off her back. And what we saw from Panay in her last fight against Ketlin Vera, Ketlin just held her down. And if you see the first fight and how both these ladies fought, Macy was kind of dominating her on the ground too. I think she had about like 5 minutes or so of control time through 2 rounds, and eventually Macy got a rear naked choke at the end. So I just don't see how this fight's going to go any different. I do think that Macy has just improved a lot since then. Even like that fight was maybe like 6 years ago or something. So I mean, I think that Macy has turned into a much more efficient and dangerous grappler throughout her time, and she really incorporates that grappling into her game plan. I mean, we saw what she did against Aldana even during that fight. The pick here for me will be Macy. I do think that she's gonna be able to use her range. She has a reach advantage here. I think that her striking is, I don't know if it's as clean as Panay's, but I think that it'll be enough to be able to incorporate her grappling into this fight. So I think Macy Jazon is solid. Probably gonna hold off on her for now. But yeah, I think let's see how the week goes, because I mean, I'm sensing some trappy vibes here. I'm not sure why the odds are this close. I think the Macy should probably be like a minus 300, honestly, for this matchup. But the fact that it's a minus 202 right now, opened up at a minus 180, yeah, I think that gives me some cause for concern right there. So yeah, Macy via decision, but staying away from this fight. Let's move on to what I think potentially could be the fight of the night here. The fight that I'm most interested in this fight card. We have Christian Rodriguez, C-Rod versus Isaac Dulgarian. Christian Rodriguez 10-1. He is 4-1 his last five, coming off that decision victory over Cameron Simon. Isaac Dulgarian 6-0, 5-0 in his last five, coming off that KO victory over Francis Marshall. This fight would actually be at featherweight. I think that Christian has been kind of fighting back and forth, potentially maybe due to weight cut issues. I think that he's had some trouble cutting weight in his last few fights. So I think maybe he's moving up here. I don't know if it's going to be a temporary thing or permanent thing, but this fight will be at 145. Looking at the odds for this fight, we have Isaac Dulgarian at minus 160, opened up at a minus 125. Gerard, I'll let you break down this fight first. What do you think about Dulgarian versus C-Rod here?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good fight. I'm really looking forward to this one. This one, Christian Rodriguez, I think he has a complete MMA skill set. Um, he is at least solid or above average everywhere in his MMA game. He has very good boxing and grappling, and he's a nightmare to hold down. If you get him down, it's so hard to hold him down. He has those sweeps and reversals and submissions ready to throw at you if you try to grapple and wrestle him. Um, he seems like he has a counter for everything. So whenever you have the upper hand at something, he seems to always have something to come back with and counter you with, whether it's the striking or in the grappling. Uh, he has a high level of experience against type prospects, both bantamweight and in featherweight, and he competes. He's poised and he has good fight IQ through all 3 rounds. Now, Isaac Dalgarian, he's a somewhat of a killer. He's a decorated wrestler. He's dangerous in his ground and pound. but he's still untested past round 1, and I think he looks good on the stand-up from the little that we have seen, but we still haven't seen him tested yet in that aspect. And this is gonna be a good test for I think for both fighters, both C-Rod and Isaac. Uh, the Isaac does train at elevation, and I'm just gonna assume that he has the cardio, even though we haven't seen him past round 1. Uh, but there are still question marks for Isaac, and I think we'll get some of those answered, whether how he looks past round 1, if it goes there, and can he finish a guy like C-Rod? I don't know. Um, for me in this one, I have Christian Rodriguez, um, C-Rod. I call him a prospect killer. He's gonna be my underdog of the week personally, and I think this is gonna be a strong test for both these fighters. And yeah, I think this is gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, I see similar thoughts to you. I mean, I think I agree with you and most of the things that you said. C Rod, really good grappler. And we've seen it throughout his career so far. Even looking back at his, I think the fight with Jonathan Pierce, he still was able to remain somewhat dangerous in that fight, right? That's something that I like to see. He wasn't that person who just accepted just getting taken down. Although he was controlled by JSP for 11 minutes, he still at least attempted some submissions. So I think he did some really good works in his reversals and his sweeps. So I like that he's a dog. I feel like he's one of those fighters that you want to back as a dog as well. And his striking might not be as good as his grappling, but I think that his striking is, kind of underrated. I do think that he's a good striker. Um, that fight with Cameron Simon showed me a lot as well. I mean, Cameron Simon's a good striker, and Christian ended up outstriking him on the feet even at certain points in the fight. So, I think Christian Rodriguez is solid. The fight up at 145 does concern me just a bit, just because I feel like C Rod is much better at 135. I feel like that's where he should stay. But if he has issue going down to that weight, then maybe this is going to be the better long term class for him. But we saw what happened the last time he fought at 145 against another high pressure wrestler, grappler, GSP. Although Dulgarian, he doesn't have the same physical dimensions and maybe not the same proven pace that GSP has. I do think Dulgarian's legit though. Just looking at how this guy fights, he's a decorated wrestler. Actually, he started off wrestling, so I know that he hasn't gone past first round yet. But like you mentioned, this guy trains at elevation. He was a wrestler. I feel like he does have that cardio. We just haven't seen it yet. And I think that this fight he will prove it. And I do think that he's more dangerous on the feet as well. I know Christian's good, but I feel like Isaac is a little bit more dangerous on the feet. It pains me to say this, but I think I'm picking Isaac here. I think that I mean, C Rod's a really good dog. He's proven everywhere. He's facing these hype prospects. But looking back at that fight between him and Raul Rosas Jr., I mean, Rosas Jr. was kind of doing whatever he wanted to in that first round, right? And maybe that was part of Christian's game plan, was just to kind of get that out of him. But if he tries to do that against Isaac Dulgarian, I feel like Dulgarian is going to be able to do that for the majority of the fight. I don't know if he's going to do it for all 3 rounds, but for at least more than a round and a half, I feel like he's going to be able to do that game plan because Isaac does have the wrestling chops that Rosas I don't think has. I don't think Rosas is as good as wrestler as this guy. So yeah, pick here is Dulgarian. I think his Dulgarian by decision could be solid, but I could easily see a potential finish, maybe KO. But I think Dulgarian by decision is pretty solid. Looking at the odds for that right now, I mean Dulgarian by decision plus 225, not too bad. Um, but yeah, I'm tuning in for this fight. I think this is gonna be the fight of the night, just based on how these two guys fight and their skill sets overall. So definitely a worthy fight to watch. Let's move on to the co-main event of the night. We have Kenny Nchukwu versus OSP, Ovin St. Preux. Kennedy is 12-4. He is 3-2 in his last five. He's actually coming off of that knockout loss to Dustin Jacoby, fighting against OSP, 26-17. He's 2-3 in his last five, and OSP is coming off that knockout loss to Felipe Lins. Looking at the odds for this fight right now, we have Kennedy at minus what 510. So he's a 5-1 favorite over OSP. Gerard, what are your thoughts between Kennedy and OSP here?
So this fight, Kennedy, he's younger here. OSP is going to be the older guy. Um, Kennedy, he's long, strong, but he's not that fluid of a fighter from what I see. He doesn't really move well. He's kind of awkward at times when I look at him trying to chase guys down. Um, Early on in his career, he kind of usually started slow and he was durable. But his last fight, he got Dustin Jacoby, and he paid the price fighting at a higher pace against a very skilled guy, a very skilled striker. And I don't think he has the skill to fight at that type of pace without making mistakes. The way he moves, he kind of leaves himself open. I think he should just slow things down and have that high guard and then look to throw those power shots and walk down people. Um, OSP, he's a vet in this game. He's a patient counter striker with some nice kicks. And I think if Kennedy tries to have that same type of high pace forward pressure that he did against Dustin, I think OSP could counter him, connect on some big shot, catch Kennedy coming in, trying to be overly aggressive. Um, but OSP is I think he slowed down, and I didn't even know he was still in the UFC.
Yeah,
So
same
he's
here.
40 now. Yeah, he's 40. I think he's way past his prime. I'm not sure if he has the same type of reflexes to counter strike the way he used to, but um, I'm probably gonna pick Kennedy, but I'm mostly likely staying away from this because I don't think I can trust either fighter right now. OSP at 40 and Kennedy with just the way he fights can be very volatile. So yeah, I'm gonna lean Kennedy just because he's the younger guy right now, and yeah, yeah, but I'm probably gonna stay away from this fight.
Yeah, this is going to be a highly volatile fight. I mean, Kennedy is a guy that I personally been having great success with for that three stretch run where he finished all three of those guys. But I was actually off him against Dustin Jacoby because man, I couldn't believe that he was actually a favorite over Dustin Jacoby. Yeah, that Dustin Jacoby dog was pretty good. Yeah, I mean Kennedy's just very I'm not sure how to even describe him. I feel like he's just one of those long kind of range strikers, right? High guard, like you mentioned. But we saw what he did against Dustin Jacoby. He came out and didn't fight like that. He was definitely more aggressive, and that was just the horrible game plan against a guy who's a glory kickboxing like veteran. And Dustin
Yeah,
Jacoby. I mean, Dustin Jacoby's gonna kickbox him all day. I was very surprised that Kennedy didn't go to more of a grappling kind of game plan or maybe a slower kind of game plan against Dustin Jacoby. Um, I do think that Kennedy is dangerous overall, but I feel like he's just not a guy that we can trust too much as a minus 510 favorite, right? He has a solid all around skill set, but at light heavyweight, especially, we see that, people can get caught with one punch and that's it, lights are out. I mean, that's what happened to get him against Justin Jacoby. OSP, 40 years old. Like you mentioned, I really thought he retired. I didn't know that he was actually still fighting the UFC because, I mean, after that loss to Felipe Lins, who like rarely KOs anybody. We saw what he did against Ion Cutelaba on Saturday. And he finished OSP in 41 seconds in the KO. So I mean, yeah, maybe that's why the odds are the way they are because I think everyone's just fading OSP at this point. I think that obviously Kenny's probably gonna win via KO. I think that he will win, but the OSP has a solid skill set, man. Like he fought for the championship. He has multiple submissions, like the Von Flute chokes. Like this guy's a pretty solid kind of skill set, but at some point the age does creep in, and you're 40 years old, and yeah, I think that the the durability is probably a big question here for OSP. I think that's why people are looking at this and they're seeing probably Kenny KO just because this guy got KO'd by Felipe Lins in the first round very early. He also got KO'd by Tanner Bozer. Just not good looks. So I do think that Kenny will probably win, but I'm definitely not touching his price at minus 510. I think that is a little ridiculous and potentially a little disrespectful in this this kind of matchup. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm staying away from this. Let's move on to the actual co-main event. I think that I said that one was, but this is the actual co-main event here. We have Bryan Battle versus Anheliger. Bryan Battle, 10-2. He's 4-1 his last five. He's actually coming off a submission victory over AJ Fletcher. Anheliger, 10-3. He is 3-2 in his last five. He's coming off a decision victory over Reyes McKee. Looking at the odds for this fight right now, we have Bryan Battle at minus 170, opened up at a minus 140. This is also going to be one of my locks. I'm locking in Bryan Battle. I really believe in this guy. This guy has just really impressed me in each passing fight that he's had. He's a long range striker. He's going to have the reach advantage here. He's going to have the height advantage. I think that his kickboxing has really improved in each and every fight. The only fight that he hasn't been able to show that was when he got grappled by Renat Fakardinov. I mean, and we know Angelusa ain't that. So I mean, let's just get that out of the way. But if you get in a striking matchup with this guy, he usually will win that striking matchup. He also ended with a submission victory over AJ Fletcher in that last fight. So I think this guy is just constantly improving, and he has the frame and the kind of physicality to continue to fill out. I think that this welterweight kind of weight class for him is really good as well, and I really like that he has a certain dog in him. Right? I mean, a lot of people would have probably just tapped out or like kind of just like tapped out against Renat because what Renat was doing to this guy was pretty dangerous. He was beating this guy up. He came in at short notice in that fight too. I was surprised that you know Bryan Battle even took that fight to be honest because he was just coming off of that KO victory over Takashi Sato. It was a highlight, and then he took that fight, and I just knew that that was going to kill some of his hype, but he won it back with Gabe Green. He won it back with AJ Fletcher, and I think it's gonna just continue. I mean, Ange Lusa, don't get me wrong, he's pretty solid. Like I think he's a really solid guy. This guy went to decision with JDM, which is not an easy thing to do. And he made that a somewhat of a close fight, even though JDM won. I just feel like he's probably tapped out of where he is. I don't know if he's gonna get much better in his kind of style and career. I mean, his last win was against Raz McKee. I don't know if that's a UFC caliber fighter there, and I don't know if he has that finishing capability that you probably need to have to beat a guy like Bryan Battle or that grappling kind of upside. I mean, he will be the kind of stouter kind of person here and the kind of physically stronger person here, but we saw what Bryan Battle did to AJ Fletcher, who has like kind of more of a grappling base game plan, more of a kind of strong base as well. And AJ Fletcher wasn't able to do anything. So it could be a close fight on the feet, but I just feel like Bryan Battle will be able to eventually overcome any kind of issues that Ange has on him, and without that grappling upside or without that KO power, I just don't feel like Angelus is going to have much for Bryan Battle in his long range strikes. So give me Bryan Battle. I think he's probably going to either decision him or KO him. So yeah, I think for me he's a parlay piece and potential money line play as well. What do you think about Angelusa versus Bryan Battle here?
So Bryan Battle, he looks like he's getting better at his timing on his strikes at the end of his strikes. Um, he's learned to use that length pretty effectively, and I can see a scenario where he could just pick apart Lusa. And from fight to fight, we see that he's actually getting better at the grappling and he's developing that submission game. And overall, I think he's just becoming a good overall finisher, in my opinion. And as for Angelusa, I I like his movement. I like his volume. He moves well with that nice Muay Thai type of stand up. He's a strong athlete and he can grapple, but he can't get tired. And like you said, he's not a Fakhretdinov. In this fight, he does have that good high guard. Usually when he's fighting, going in and out with his footwork, but he tends to eat too much damage, especially when he's tired. And even when he's like winning pretty handedly, he finds a way in the third round to just almost get knocked out or give away the win. And for this fight, I kind of same things that you've been saying. I have Battle. I just think he's gonna have the cleaner precision strikes and possibly a finish also in this fight against Angelusa. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, let's ride this week on Battle. I think that's our guy. Moving on to the main event. It's gonna be a heavyweight matchup for 5 rounds. We're back at it again at the Apex. Last time we had a heavyweight was Shamil Gaziev versus Rosenstruck. So let's see how this one works out. We have Tai Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa, the second Bam Bam of the night, 15-6. He's 2-3 in his last 5. He's coming off that submission loss to Volkov. Maybe not the best look there. Marcin Tybura, 24-8, 3-2 in his last 5. He's coming off of that Tom Aspinall kind of setup KO where UFC just set this dude up. That's a tune-up fight, unfortunately. Let's move on to the odds right now. This is a near pick'em. I mean, Tai Tuivasa is minus 125, open up at a minus 130. Gerard, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts because, I mean, personally, I'm just not too sure about this fight overall, but what are your thoughts here for this fight?
Yeah. So I guess this is a better step up for a main event than that Rosenstrick Shamil.
Yeah.
We have some names here, but who've lost some steam recently. And Taito Avasa, he's gonna have that boxing. He has that KO power. I think he has some pretty fast hands. He does leg kick, but he prefers to box, and he does struggle when he gets taken down. And Tybura, I think it would do well for him if he uses some more wrestling in this fight. Um, Tybura, he's more patient, more you more uses that he uses more of that kickboxing and he mixes up his strikes. It's not just boxing. Um, and I think for Tybura, he struggles against speed. So this fight, um, I'm probably gonna stay away.
Yeah.
This could be kind of like a flip of a coin for a heavyweight bout. I think that Tuivasa, he's he could knock out Tybura if he's able to get Tuivasa down. It could be a long night for Tuivasa. So the longer this fight goes, the more likely that Tybura wins, in my opinion. And yeah, this is kind of like a flip of a coin for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna play this fight at all. I think that the reason why is I think Tai Tuivasa, a truly entertaining fighter, but he's been finished in many of his fights, last three fights overall, right? After that 5 KO win streak that he had, faced some higher level competition. It was a good fight between him and Gon, but Gon was clearly the better striker there. Sergey Pavlovich out KO'd him, and Volkov was doing whatever to him. I mean, I just think that in this fight, Tai is going to be once again KO or bust. There's not really much to it. I mean, his game plan is really just to try to KO people. Unfortunately, I think that having that 54% takedown defense will be the detriment into him in this fight because Tybura, yeah, like you mentioned, I think that he does struggle more so with the speed, not more so with the power, right? Because he's been in there with a lot of heavyweights, right, and hasn't really been kind of destroyed in a lot of them. It's been a long time. He's kind of developed a lot of good durability, but we saw Tom Aspinall. I mean, Tom Aspinall's a different cat. Like that guy moves like a middleweight and fights at heavyweight. So that was a very big mismatch for him. I think that Tybura will eventually be able to swear down Ty at one point if he doesn't get finished in like round 1 or 2. Um, I would say that the over 1.5 could be something that we could look at, but man, we would really have to rely on Ty being somewhat durable in this fight because he's been finished last 3 fights. The last fight that he was finished in, I think that it went. Let me see here. Yeah, it did go over. I think so. That's something that's good, but I mean, this guy can get finished at any point. So I'm just not sure if over 1.5 could be a play that we could have. The odds for that right now, by the way, are -185. So could be over 1.5 heavyweight system play. Um, but yeah, I'm just not sure if I can trust Ty's durability at this point. So we'll see what happens. Overall, I'm surprised they made this a main event. It's very. I feel like the Gizaev Rosenstruck fight had a little bit more hype to it. Like this fight, man, I don't know how you can hype up either of these guys. I mean, both of them are going off losses. Like it's just, yeah, I'm just not sure about this one. So we'll see what happens. That about does it for the main event and really the whole fight card. Gerard, before we hop off, do you have any kind of thoughts or anything at all you want to talk about for this fight card?
Uh, no, I think we're gonna have a better week this time. We'll have some plays in our Discord on purepicks.gg, and I think we'll have some sharper plays here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that the theme for me this week is going to be, I think, just backing the people that I think that are going to more so like a money line place. I think for me, I know that jail time wasn't good play in retrospect, but I feel like this fight card, there's going to be more people who are maybe on the money line that could be a good play. There's going to be some dogs as well that could be some good action. So I mean, I think for me, yeah, just kind of continuing on that train of making just better, sharper plays overall. But yeah, we'll get into that as the week goes on. PurePicks.gg is the website. Feel free to take a look at that. That's where you can sign up to be a Pure Picks Pro member for $10 a month. I think it's a great value. We're up 17% so far. Looking to continue that train going forward. That about does it for the breakdown for UFC Fight Night Vegas 88. Tuivasa versus Tybura. Best of luck, everybody, and we'll be back soon.